Good evening, everybody. It's been a nice day. Really appreciate being here with you. I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to be here with you this evening for this gathering focused on refugees and migrants, our common home. An opportunity to share our vision of hope. This is a topic that touches the very heart of who we are, both individual and as a community. For me personally, it is an integral part of my own story. The day my father decided he wanted to move to the United States, bring the whole family, as Andrea just said. I was born in the United States, as I say in Spanish, by chiripa, if you know what I mean. If you're from Mexico, you know. Yeah. Anyway, we did go back and forth until one day my mother decided to tell my dad, stop, the kids need to go to school, so choose Mexico or US. So he chose the US. So we grew up in the US after that. And fast forward to today, I am blessed with the opportunity to be present and help families who are crossing into the United States trying to find a safe place to raise their children. Since 2014, when we started, I don't know why our numbers show that they report we've helped about 500,000 people. We've truly went over 1 million people in crossing into the United States through the sector of the sector. We are all here because we want to find ways to address the one most urgent challenges of our time, that the global movement of people, immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers who leave behind everything they know in search of safety, opportunity, and dignity. My personal experience with receiving the families as they just cross the Rio Grande River, and you see them right in front of you, all wet, many times muddy, children dehydrating. And the very first thing that I say to them as I see them before me, ¿Cómo estás? I think for the very first time they first experienced somebody actually caring enough to ask them, how are you? And the first thing they do is start to cry. I remember this man, he's big and strong. And when I asked him that, he just cried like a little child and responded, fue bien duro. The journey was very difficult. Their journeys are often marked by hardships and vulnerability, yet also by extraordinary courage, faith, and resilience. I remember not when this administration started that we have now, but right before that, we have great numbers at our center, and our center was packed with people and trying to help them as best we could. I would just arrive for the day, and this lady approached me, and she was dirty, and she was already with a ticket to go somewhere in the United States. The Border Patrol had given them permission to travel, and they find themselves. She wanted to take a shower. She said, I need to change my clothing. I need to get cleaned up. I have my bus already ready to go in 1 hour. And I turned and looked at the center. It was packed with families. There was no way I was going to find a shower empty and a pair of clean clothes. And I looked at her and I said, you made it. You're here. And there's so many others that I'm certain you know, still struggling and still trying to make it. Many of them, more than likely, are not going to. But you're here, and you are okay. ¿Verdad? She looked at me, and she said, yes, I am. Thank you. And she went on and got on that bus. Their journeys are often marked, in a world marked by fear, division, uncertainty, we are invited to be people of hope, pilgrims of hope. our hope, that which comes from our trust in the Lord, is living force, one that shapes how we see others, how we act, and how we respond. Our communities at the border have always been very engaged in responding with humanitarian care to the hundreds of thousands of displaced people on the move. The stories we encounter are definitely heartbreaking. It is only when we, as an individual, allow ourselves to see the human reality in distress before us that something within us moves us to respond with kindness and compassion. Border Patrol, one time I visited a center with children in detention, and I asked to pray with them. Kids, little ones, not older than 10 years old, all dirty and muddy and crying. And they allowed me to go in and pray with them. And the children would repeat after me, Diosito, ayúdanos. And they repeat together, Diosito, ayúdanos. And the agents were looking at us and witnessing. And when I walked out of there, they said, thank you, sister. You helped us realize they're human beings. It's not until we actually see their humanity that something happens within us and transforms us to care, to recognize that presence of God in all of us and see that child, that family, as a person, not as a criminal, or not as what somehow the politics of the world try to paint them as a bother or somebody we don't want in our country. In this Jubilee year of hope, we are called to find within ourselves kindness and compassion and courage, especially courage. God is moving us to bring out the care for those we see before us, showing us the face of Christ's suffering. A more recent experience of Border Patrol agents was when a Border Patrol agent saw a young father being processed by him and looking down at his feet and seeing those feet bleeding and blistered and asking him, how is it that you have your feet like that? And he shared his journey and how difficult it was and why his feet were like that. This agent was moved and goes out to his truck that he has parked outside and brings in a pair of brand new tennis shoes that I'm certain he used to go run after work. And he takes off his socks and puts them on this immigrant father and puts on this brand new pair of tennis shoes. This is who we are called to be, all of us. When we are able to allow ourselves to get close enough to see that face, those feet, and it moves us to bring out that God within that's calling us to have compassion, to care. Pope Francis repeatedly spoke to us about not leaving anyone out, making sure that the human dignity of every person mattered. That's why he said, todos, todos, todos. Nobody can be left out. You know, if you understand what that means, you can understand why he spoke always about making sure that there's nothing more important than the person. Today, unfortunately, we witness an unprecedented assault on humanity. Worldwide, fear is at the core of what we are witnessing today. My bishop back home, Daniel Flores, reminds us that as church, we may not have the power to stop the injustices that are destroying our communities, but we do have the power to love. We can be neighbors to those living in fear and who are afraid to go to work or even to go to the supermarket. He also reminds us that no government can stop us from living out our faith and caring for our refugee brothers and sisters. As church, we can share the kindness and the tenderness that Pope Francis often reminded us to offer radically. One time, I often crossed into Mexico frequently, several times a week, to do things with the many families that were in the Mexican side of the border, because they usually are in worse shape than the ones that have already made it into the United States. And I would cross walking, because it was safer just to leave my car in the US side, and would carry some bags with me, just so that I could take things that people would give, whether it was things for the children or for the moms. One day I was crossing, I had 2 big bags with me, and this older lady, she definitely looked older than me. And she says to me, because I walked fast and I moved, and so she says, permítame ayudarle con una de sus bolsas. Déjame. She wanted to help me carry one of my bags, and I said, that's okay, I'm fine. And she said, no, I would like for you to allow me to be part of the wonderful work you're doing by letting me poner mi granito de arena, putting the little I can offer so that I can feel that I was part of this amazing work that you're doing. I think that calls us out how important it is, the work we all do, and that we must allow everyone, invite everyone to be part of it. So because we are part of something good, something that comes from God. And we must all put in that granito de arena, big or small. It's whatever it is that we can do. We can share our love with one another. Let us then be church that lives the path of hope, caminos de esperanza, poniendo nuestro granito de arena. Muchas gracias.